मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदं पञ्चकल्पतरुश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय. So today we're starting mantra 7 of Sri Isopanisad. Who wants to read?
Hey, Char.
Okay. Mantra 7. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma eva bhujanta taha tatra ko moha ashoka ekta tvam anupushpasyataha. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hey.
One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality, one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What is there as illusion or anxiety for him? Purport. Except for the two more advanced devotees described above, no one can correctly see the spiritual position of a living being. The living entities are qualitatively one with the Supreme Lord, as the sparks of the fire are qualitatively one with the nature of the fire. But sparks are not fire as far as quantity is concerned. The quantity of heat and light present in the fire is not equal to the quantity of heat and light in the sparks. The Mahabhagavata, the great devotee, sees oneness in the sense that everything is the energy of the Supreme Lord. And as there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, there is the sense of oneness. Without heat and light, there is no meaning of fire. And yet heat and light from the analytical point of view are different from fire. But in synthesis, heat, light, and fire are all the same one thing. The Sanskrit words found here, ektatvam anupashyataha, mean to see unity of the living entities from the viewpoint of the revealed scriptures. Every individual spark of the Supreme Whole has almost 80% of the known qualities of the whole, but they are not as good as the Supreme Lord. These qualities are present in minute quantity, as living entity is but a minute part and parcel of the Supreme Whole. This is like the drop of water and the ocean. The quantity of salt present in the drop is never comparable to the quantity of salt present in the complete ocean, but the quality of the salt present in the drop is equal in quality to in chemical composition with that present in the ocean. If the individual living being were equal both in quality and in quantity, there would be no question of the living entities being submerged by the influence of material energy. It has already been discussed in previous mantras that no living being, even the powerful demigods, can surpass the Supreme Being in any respect. Therefore, ektatvam does not mean that a living being is equal in all respects with the Supreme Lord. It means, in a broader sense, that there is one interest, just as in a family the interest of all the members is one. In a nation, although different individual citizens are there, the national interest is one. Therefore, the living entities, being parts and parcels of the same supreme family, the interest of the Supreme Being and that of the parts and parcels is not different. Every living being is the son of the Supreme Being. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, all living creatures, including birds, reptiles, ants, aquatics, trees, and so on, all over the universe, all are emanations from the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord, and therefore all of them belong to the same family of the Supreme Being. There is no clash of interest in spiritual life. The spiritual entities are meant for enjoyment. By nature, by constitution, every living being, both the Supreme Lord and each different part and parcel, is meant for enjoyment eternally. The living beings who are encaged in the material tabernacle are also seeking enjoyment always, but they are seeking their enjoyment on a platform which is not meant for them. Aside from this spiritual world, there is the spiritual platform where the Supreme Being is enjoying with his innumerable associates without any trace of material qualities. That platform is called Nirguna. On the Nirguna platform, there is no clash uh, of enjoyment. Here in the material world, there is always a clash between different individual beings because here the center of enjoyment is missed. The center of enjoyment is the Supreme Lord, who is the center of the sublime and spiritual Ras dance. We are all meant for joining him and for enjoying life with one transcendental interest and without any clash. That is the high platform of spiritual interest. And as soon as such a perfect form of oneness is realized, there can be no question of illusion or lamentation. Maya or illusion means a godless civilization, the result of which is lamentation. The godless civilization sponsored by the modern politicians is always full of anxieties, and that is the law of nature. No one can surpass this law, as is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Only those who surrender at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord can overcome the stringent laws of nature. If, therefore, we wish to get rid of all sorts of illusion and anxiety and create unity of all diverse interests, we must bring God into all of our activities. The results of our activities must be used to serve the interest of the Lord and not for any other purpose, because only by serving the interest of the Lord can we feel the Atma Bhuta interest mentioned here in Sri Isopanisad. This and the Brahma Bhuta interest mentioned in Bhagavad Gita are one and the same thing. The supreme Atman or soul is the Lord himself, and the minute Atman is the living entity. The supreme Atman or Paramanatman alone maintains all the individual minute beings. Because the Supreme Lord wants to derive pleasure out of their affection. The Father extends himself by his children and maintains them in order to derive pleasure. If the children of the Father are obedient to his will, family affairs will run smoothly with one interest and a pleasing atmosphere. Exactly the same thing is transcendentally arranged in the Brahman or absolute family of the Param Brahman, the Supreme Spirit. The Param Brahman is as much a person as the individual entities are. None of them are impersonal. Such transcendental personalities are full of transcendental bliss, knowledge, and life eternal. That is the real position of a spiritual existence. and as soon as one is fully cognizant of this transcendental position, he at once surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. But such Mahatmas, great souls, are very rarely seen, because such transcendental realization is achieved only after many, many births. Once attained, however, there is no more illusion or distress, no more of the misery of material existence, and there is no birth and death as we experience in the present status of life. That is the information we get from this mantra of Sri Isopanisad. Jai.
Jai, Haribol.
What does Bhuta mean?
Bhuta is the living entity.
Okay.
So, yeah, this Atma Bhuta mentioned in the verse and Brahma Bhuta in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says, refer to the same thing. But
What is Brahma Bhuta then?
Brahma means spirit. Atma also is a spirit. So, meaning the spirit soul. Actually, the Bhuta is always spiritual, but when it's defined in this way, it's clarifying that refers to somebody that has realized the self. Like Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma Nasochati Nakankshati. That's the verse in the Bhagavad Gita referred to use of Brahma Bhuta instead of Atma Bhuta. And yeah, as Prabhupada said in the beginning of the purport, this is understood in the Madhyama and the Uttama stage. Kanishta Adhikari cannot see or is not yet ready to see the super soul in every living entity. That's why he separates himself. It's like, my I, me, mine, my nation, my society, my religion, my everything. So because doesn't see the same in others, except the ones in his own circle. But then, if somebody is really in knowledge, then Krishna says, Jnana mam prapadyate. So one that really has captured the essence of knowledge surrenders to the Lord. And finally, the comparison of a drop of water and the ocean is, Prabhupada also explains, is used mostly by the Mayavadis. So when the drop of water goes into the ocean, it's not individual anymore. But then the Goswamis have explained that it doesn't work like that. It's not exactly like a drop of water. It's like a fish going into the ocean. Still a fish, or a bird that looks like it's been lost in the forest, because the bird may be green, the forest is green, so a bird flying into the forest disappears from our vision, but he's still a bird in the jungle. Or the fish, still a fish in the ocean, as the fish was a fish in the river or in the pond.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, so we go to mantra 8.
Okay. Okay, saparyagachu kramakayamavranam asnaviram shutamapapavitam kavirmanishi paripuspayam pur yata tatyatoram vyadadach chash vatipya samapya. Translation and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Such a person must know, in fact, the greatest of all, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminate, the self-sufficient philosopher who is awarding everyone's desires since time immemorial. Could that be right? Without veins? What do you have on your book?
Well, in this edition,
Vain.
What does yours say, Rangapuri?
here it says, such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial.
So it is without veins. That's very strange. I guess that means without a body, that our kind of body or something.
Yeah, the body we have is kind of replica of it. You know, we need veins, all this, because our body is material, so it's like imitation. So it needs a machine, the heart, the veins, the blood, all this, a machine to make the body look like alive.
So you think in the spiritual world they don't have a heart?
They don't use veins. They don't have a heart as we know, because bodies are not machines.
Mm-hmm.
The heart, the veins, muscles, all these are just imitation. The spiritual body is conscious in itself, doesn't need all this brain and stuff.
Huh. Interesting. Never thought about that.
Hmm.
Purport. Here's the description of the transcendental and eternal form of the absolute personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord is not formless. He has his own transcendental form, which is not at all similar to those of the mundane world. The living entities in this world have their forms embodied by the material nature, and they work like any material machines. The physiological and anatomical structure of the body as a living being must have a mechanical construction with veins and so forth in the embodiment. But in the transcendental body of the Lord, there is nothing like veins. It is clearly stated here that he is unembodied. That means there is no difference between his body and soul, nor does he accept a body by the law of nature as we do. In the material concept of bodily life, the soul is different from the gross embodiment and subtle mind. The Supreme Lord is apart from any such compartmentalized arrangement, however. There is nothing like a difference of body and mind in the Supreme Lord. He is the complete whole, and his mind and body and he himself are all one and the same. In the Brahma Samhita, there is a similar description of the body of the Supreme Lord. He is described there as the Satchit Ananda Vigraha. This means that he is the eternal form, fully representing transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss. The Vedic literature states clearly that he has a completely different kind of transcendental body. And thus he sometimes is described as formless. This formlessness means that he has no form like ours, or that he is devoid of a form which we can perceive. In the Brahma Samhita, it is further said that the Lord can do anything and everything with any one of the parts of his body. Such as the hand. He can do the work of the other senses. This means that the Lord can walk with his hands, he can accept a thing by his legs, he can see by his hands and feet, and he can eat by his eyes. In the Shruti mantras, it is said that he has no hands and no legs like us, but he has a different type of hand and leg by which he can accept all that we offer him and walk faster than anyone anywhere. These things are confirmed in this mantra of Sri Isopanisad by the use of the words like omnipotent. The Lord's Sri Vigraha, his worshipable form, which is installed in the temples by authorized acharyas who have realized the Lord in terms of mantra 7, is also non-different from the original form of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is that of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna expands himself by an unlimited number of forms like Baladev, Ram, Narasimha, Varaha, etc. And all of these are one and the same personality of Godhead. Similarly, the Archa Vigraha, which is worshipped in the temples, is also an expanded form of the Lord. By worshipping the Archa Vigraha of the Lord, one can at once approach the Lord, who accepts the service of the devotee by his omnipotent energy without any reproach. The Vigraha of the Lord descends by request of the Acharyas, the holy teachers, and works exactly in the original way by his omnipotent energy. Foolish people who have no knowledge of these mantras of Sri Isopanisad or of any other Shruti mantras consider that the Sri Vigraha was worshipped by the pure devotees is made of material elements. To the imperfect eyes of the foolish people, or to the Kanishta Adhikaris, this form is considered material. But such people with little knowledge do not know that the Lord, being omnipotent and omniscient, can transform matter into spirit and spirit into matter as he desires. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord regrets the fallen condition of men with little knowledge, who regard the body of the Lord as material because he descends like a man into this world. Such poorly informed persons do not know the omnipotence of the Lord. To the mental speculators, therefore, the Lord does not manifest himself in fullness. He can be appreciated only in proportion to one's surrender to him. And the fallen condition of the living entities is due entirely to forgetfulness of our relationship with God. In this mantra, as well as in many others in the Vedas, it is clearly mentioned from time immemorial the Lord is supplying. The living being, first of all, desires, and then the Lord supplies the object of desire in proportion to the degree of qualification. If a man wants to be a high court judge, he must not only have acquired the necessary qualifications, but he must also depend upon the disposition of the authority concerned, who can award the title of high court judge. Simple acquisition of the qualifications of a high court judge is not sufficient in order to occupy the post. This must be awarded by some superior authority. Similarly, the Lord awards enjoyment to the living being in proportion to his qualifications. In other words, by the law of karma. Those qualifications, however, are not sufficient without the mercy of the Lord. J.
Ordinarily, the living being does not know what to ask from the Lord, nor which post to seek. When the living being comes to know his constitutional position, however, he asks to be accepted into the transcendental association of the Lord in order to render transcendental loving service unto him. Unfortunately, living beings under the influence of material nature ask for many other things, as they are described in the Bhagavad Gita 241, as having divided or splayed intelligence. Spiritual intelligence is one, but mundane intelligence is diverse. In Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5:30 to 31, it's stated that those who are captivated by the temporary beauties of the external energy forget the real aim of life, which is to go back to Godhead. Forgetting this, one tries to adjust things by various plans and programs, but this is like chewing what has already been chewed. Nonetheless, the Lord is so kind that he allows the forgetful living entity to continue in this way without interference. Thus, this mantra of Sri Isopanisad uses very appropriate word, yatata dhyataha, indicating that the Lord rewards the living entities just in pursuance of their desires. If a living being wants to go to hell, the Lord allows him to do so without interference. And if he wants to go back home, back to Godhead, the Lord helps him. God is described here as Paribu, the greatest of all. No one is greater than or equal to him. Other living beings are described here as beggars who ask goods from the Lord. The Lord supplies the things the living entities desire. If the entities were equal to the Lord in potency, if they were omnipotent and omniscient, there would be no question of their begging from the Lord, even for so-called liberation. Real liberation means going back to Godhead. Liberation as conceived by an impersonalist is a myth, and begging for sense gratification has to continue eternally. unless the beggar comes to his spiritual senses and realizes his constitutional position. Only the Supreme Lord is self-sufficient. When Lord Krishna appeared on earth 5,000 years ago, he displayed his full manifestation as the personality of Godhead through his various activities. In his childhood, he killed many powerful demons, such as Agasura, Bakasura, and Shakatasura. And there was no question of his having acquired such power through any extraneous endeavor. He lifted Govardhan Hill without ever practicing weightlifting. He danced with the gopis without social restriction and without reproach. Although the gopis approached him with the paramour's feelings of love, the relationship between the gopis and Lord Krishna was worshipped even by Lord Chaitanya, who was a strict sannyasi and a rigid follower of disciplinary regulations. To confirm that the Lord is always pure and uncontaminated, Sri Isopanisad describes him as Shuddham, antiseptic, and Apapavidham, prophylactic. He's antiseptic in the sense that even an impure thing can become purified just by touching him. The word prophylactic refers to the power of his association. As mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:30 to 31, in the beginning a devotee may appear to be sudurachar, or not well behaved, but he should be accepted as pure because he's in the right path. This is due to the prophylactic nature of the Lord's association. The Lord is also a papavidham because sin cannot touch him. Even if he acts in a way that appears to be sinful, such actions are all good, for there is no question of his being affected by sin. Because in all circumstances he is Shuddham, most purified, he is often compared to the sun. The sun extracts moisture from many untouchable places on the earth, yet it remains pure. In fact, it purifies obnoxious things by virtue of its sterilizing powers. If the sun, which is a material object, is so powerful, then we can hardly begin to imagine the purifying strength of the all-powerful Lord. That's in the purport by Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
So is there any question or comment on your side?
Um, Nilambadi couldn't join us today. Something came up.
Hare Krishna, I made it.
Oh, and there she
No.
is.
Yeah,
Nandar is there.
I've been listening. I've been on for a little bit, so I made
cool.
it. Okay.
Oh,
And
goodness. He's
I was thinking about everything that he just read. Pretty amazing.
Do
Hare
you want
Krishna.
to make some comment on that? Or?
Oh no. Just trying to absorb it all.
Very nice. Okay, so just going back in a couple of things here said, is that the text itself just follows the previous one, depicting who is the true knower. And Prabhupada has explained that this true knower is either Madhyamadikari or Uttamadikari. And in the purport to the mantra 8, he's explaining also that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he expands himself in unlimited forms. And he's given the example of Baladev, Ram, Nishinga, Varaha. But explains that all these forms are one and the same personality of Godhead. Now, he also explains the position of the Archa Vigraha, the deity. So, the Archa Vigraha, in the preliminary stage of Kanishta Adhikari, one may understand the Vigraha as some material form. In this regard, it's very interesting that, for example, in some temples, you see that besides the deity, there is also a murti of guru. And that's something that was not observed by Prabhupada himself. Prabhupada didn't bring a murti of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, nor Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati brought a murti of either Gorkishore Das Babaji or his father and guru, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So one may ask why amongst the practices of deity seva, sometimes it's introduced a murti of either one's guru or the guru of the one that runs the temple. I wonder if any of you want to comment on that.
I'm thinking that these bodies do better when they have something to focus on. Our eyesight craves looking, and so these murtis are a point of focus and helps us, really connect.
That's a good point.
Very good. Excellent. But just in case, as a bit of adding this,
Yes.
it's been explained that, for example, when Guru is present, one usually worships Gauranga, Radha, Krishna. But when the Guru is not present, then Nityananda represents the absent Guru. So one worships Nityananda Gauranga and Radha Krishna. So because Nityananda is the original Guru, it's indeed important, especially if one Guru is not present, to have Nityananda amongst the deities.
But how does that explain why?
Oh,
We have-
Nityananda
we
is
have-
the original Guru.
Now, how does that explain why we have murtis of Srila Prabhupada and he didn't have a murti of his guru and Ramdas guru?
I think that Charu made the point is that, sometimes for initiating devotees to fix the mind on the Guru is not easy. But it has become now a common practice, but probably is one of the practices that still in question mark. Originally, we used to have in the Vyasa-san a big picture of Prabhupada, but not his murti. And it's still a good question because you can also focus your mind with a picture of the, of the Guru of your inspiration. But maybe we can ask Siddhanti Maharaj, now, because nowadays there is also murti of Srila Narayan Maharaj, and then it's becoming a practice mostly all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
It might be also that we manufacture more things, or so back in the day, maybe they didn't have the capacity for mass production, the plastics, or I don't mean to demean any materials that are used, but nowadays we can do that, so we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In loving sentiment, and to give our mind something as much as possible, even though, yes, the photographs are just the same. They're just as powerful.
Very good.
And maybe because Srila Prabhupada was the greatest guru of all time.
Well, he's in the succession, but Nityananda and Radha, Sri Radhika,
Well, of course,
are
but I
the
mean,
greatest.
Right. I just mean
But
what he did, how much he
what
did
he
for you.
did,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah, now that's a good point because before, like every uh, sampradaya, besides the original, I would say guru on the sampradaya, they used to have one very outstanding acharya. Like, for example, in our Brahma sampradaya, we have whom?
Mara, Mara, what's his
Madhva,
name? Mara,
Madhvacharya, right?
right.
And then in Sri Sampradaya, they have
I don't know.
Ramanujacharya.
Mhm.
And in Nimbarka Sampradaya, or I mean, the four Kumara Sampradaya is Nimbarka Acharya. And then in the Rudra Sampradaya is Vishnu Swami. So there are these four big acharyas, one of each sampradaya, more contemporary, we would say, but of course, several centuries ago. But I think that, yeah, maybe from Prabhupada and on, there will be like Prabhupada Murti to be remembered for centuries to come then.
Mhm.
Because they don't have Murtis of other gurus, just those four, like, means once in centuries.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so we go to next verse. You want Nilambari, now that you're here, you want to go in the mantra 9?
You're on mute if you're there.
I was trying to unmute that whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mantra 9. Andham tama pravisit santi ye vidyam upasate tato buya eva tatamo ya u vidyayam rataha. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Right.
Let's see. I'm sorry, I got my thing real loud. Let me turn it down. Okay. Translation. Those who engage in the culture of nescient activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. Purport. This mantra offers a comparative study of vidya and avidya. Avidya, or ignorance, is undoubtedly dangerous, but vidya, or knowledge, is even more dangerous when mistaken or misguided. This mantra of Sri Isopanisad is more applicable today than at any time in the past. And I just can imagine what Srila Prabhupada would say about this crazy techno lying world today, because it's so much worse than it was back then when he was here. Modern civilization has advanced considerably in the field of mass education, but the result is that people are more unhappy than ever before because of stress placed on material advancement to the exclusion of the most important part of life, the spiritual aspect. As far as Vidya is concerned, the first mantra has explained very clearly that the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of everything and that forgetfulness of this fact is ignorance. The more a man forgets this fact of life, the more he is in darkness. In the view of this, a godless civilization directed toward the so called advancement of education is more dangerous than a civilization in which the masses of people are less educated. Of the different class of men, karmis, jnanis, and yogis. The karmis are those who are engaged in the activities of sense gratification. In the modern civilization, 99.9% of the people are engaged in the activities of sense gratification under the flags of industrialism, economic development, altruism, political activism, and so on. All these activities are more or less based on the satisfaction of the senses, to the exclusion of the kind of God consciousness described in the first mantra. In the language of the Bhagavad Gita 7.15, people who are engaged in gross sense gratification are murtas, asses. The ass is a symbol of stupidity. Those who simply engage in profitless pursuit of sense gratification are worshiping avidya, according to Sri Isopanisad. And those who play the role of helping this sort of civilization in the name of educational advancement are actually doing more harm than those who are on the platform of gross sense gratification. The advancement of learning by a godless people is as dangerous as a valuable jewel on the hood of a cobra. A cobra decorated with a valuable jewel is more dangerous than one not decorated. And the Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya 3.11.12, the advancement of education by godless people is compared to decorations on a dead body. In India, as in many other countries, some people follow the custom of leading a procession with a decorated dead body for the pleasure of the lamenting relatives. In the same way, modern civilization is a patchwork of activities meant to cover the perpetual miseries of material existence. All such activities are aimed towards sense gratification, but above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. Thus, the aim of real education should be self realization, realization of the spiritual values of the soul. Any education which does not lead to such realization must be considered avidya or nescience. And to culture such nescience means to go down to the darkest region of ignorance. According to the Bhagavad Gita 2.42 and 7.15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Veda-vada-rata and Maya Parita Gyan. They may also be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. Those who are Veda-vada-rata pose themselves as very learned in the Vedic literature, but unfortunately, they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said that the purpose of the Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead. But these Veda-vada-rata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they're fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. And I guess I shall. Oh, we just have another couple. I'll say Jay there so you can comment.
No, thank you. Yeah, there is a whole book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I'm sure you're well aware. It's called Bhakti Tattva Viveka. Do you remember? It was published also by Srila Narayan Maharaj.
I'm not familiar with that. Does it have an English translation?
Yes. So actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur expands further on this topic, but in short, he says that well, this is my example, but what he said is likewise that, for example, is more dangerous if you have a falsified or forfeit money that is almost equal to real money. So people will take it easily. If it's grossly falsified, if you handwrite in a paper $100, probably you can cheat a child, but most of the people won't take it. But if it's, very sophisticated, looks like the original, then people takes these falsified things. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns us that externally some things may look like, worshiping Radha, Krishna, being bona fide and this, but when you see in the inside, there's something that's not right. So the inner character is most important than the external. And even Srila Sridhar Maharaj pointed that one feature of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is they are form breakers, not form makers. So they always consider first the substance, and the form is like secondary. Whereas some people think that the external forms are the most important, but actually it's just the opposite. I wonder if that helps.
Yes, and I was commenting earlier that with with so much information at our fingertips, this disinformation that we are seeing going on in our world, especially with the COVID op, for example. And now, I mean, it's so bad now that you can hardly believe anything that you read out there. And I cannot imagine how bad it's going to be when AI, we're right on the precipice of this AI taking over. And this is just so it looks sophisticated. It sounds like it knows everything, but it's totally misdirecting people and doesn't have anything to do with the spirit and the soul.
Yeah, it's scary.
It really is. I really, it's going to take God's intervention to get us through this. I can't imagine the children of today. They are so programmed and with bad information. It's really pretty overwhelming if you stop and think about it, like this uh, mantra makes you, or this mantra 9 makes you think about it.
Yeah. And well, it's happening already that they can, take whatever video, let's say, of somebody doing a crime, and they can change the face into your face. And that's now it's so easy, even free applications that do that. So you never know who did or who said what, because it all can be falsified very quickly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Terrible. But
So
now,
we're really living it and seeing what the point they're making, that it's even more dangerous in this highly technical, highly educated, highly informative society. We're really seeing the dangers, we're living them, and seeing our world so radically change in a bad way.
yeah, and if you remember, when there's these predictions of Kali Yuga, it said that as Kali Yuga advances, because people will be so much into mainstream whatever, that at the end of Kali Yuga, devotees had to kidnap people to take them away from the system, because it's so strong that within the system they won't be able to accept different opinions or different ways of looking at life.
It's kind of
Right.
like to me at the ashram at Barsanathanam. I was totally like engulfed in the whole thing. You left me, Lambady, and Kathy left, and all these other. But I was having trouble thinking to leave, and it wasn't until Tom heard about everything and contacted Kathy, and then they had to conspire to get me out of there.
So you actually lived it.
Yeah.
And the thing I was thinking about is how everybody's so addicted to their phones.
Oh my God. Yeah, including me.
You try to get somebody away from their phone. Yeah, but yeah, this is very heavy stuff, and it's so significant right now, what we're living through and what we're seeing, all the changes we're seeing.
Just to spice up that, Lilambari, there is a survey done with people asking, what would you be ready to give up in order not to be away from your phone for 1 month? They offered the surveyed people $1,000 in cash if they could stay 1 month away from the telephone, and almost no one accepted that.
Oh my God.
And then they ask, what would you do in order for you, to keep your phone? What are you able to relinquish? Some said, I would go to jail. Some said, I would divorce my wife. Yeah, like 11% were ready to divorce if they were about to take their phones away.
Oh my God. That's
And this was done here in the US.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so get ready for that if you want to take someone's smartphone. And there's even people that was ready to kill the person that took away their phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you. So we continue this last part.
Mhm.
Whoever's next,
I,
it's as stated in Mantra 1.
okay, I think it's me. As is said in Mantra 1 of Sri Isopanisad, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and we must be satisfied with our allotted portion of the necessities of life. The purpose of the whole Vedic literature is to awaken his God consciousness in the forgetful living being, and the same principle is presented in various ways in the world's various scriptures for the understanding of foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose is to bring one back to Godhead. But the Veda-vada-rata people, instead of realizing the purport of the Vedas, take it for granted that side issues such as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which is the very cause of their material bondage in the first place, is the ultimate end of the Vedas. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature, and sometimes they condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. The Veda-vada-ratas make their own explanation of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of the great teachers called acharyas, and they tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. These men are especially condemned by this mantra of Sri Isopanisad with the very appropriate Sanskrit word Veda-vada-rata. Vidya means Veda, because the Veda is the original in all knowledge, and Rata means engaged. Vidya-rata means engaged in the study of the Vedas. As such, the so-called Vidya-ratas are condemned here because they do not know what the purpose of the Vedas is, on account of disobeying the acharyas. Such Veda-vada-ratas are accustomed to finding meaning in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. They do not know that the Vedic literature is not a collection of ordinary books and cannot be understood except through the chain of disciplic succession. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of the Katha Upanishad. But these Veda-vada-rata people have their own acharya who is not in the chain of transcendental disciplic succession. Thus they will progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature, even more so than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. The Mayaya Apritagyan class of men are self-made gods. Such men think that they are themselves God, and there is no necessity of worshipping any other god. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich, but will never worship the actual personality of Godhead. Such foolish men cannot recognize their own foolishness regarding the question of how God can ever have been entrapped by illusion. If God were ever entrapped by illusion, then illusion would be more powerful than God. But they also say that God is all powerful. If God is all powerful, then how can he be overpowered by illusion? The self-made gods cannot answer all these questions very clearly, but they are satisfied that they have become God themselves.
Yay.
Jai. Okay. A very quick note is that, Vidya is equivalent of Veda, and the Latin word is video. So it means self-evident.
That's interesting. So how does our word video relate to that?
Yeah, you can see that. You're seers of the truth now. Okay. Thank you so much. You're so kind. So hope
You are
we
so
continue
kind.
on
Thank
Friday, right?
you. Thank you so much. Dandavat pranams.
Jai Ho, Dhanyavad.
Oh, so before you hang up,
Hmm?
I don't know if you looked at the WhatsApp yet, ladies, but we're going to have a program on Sunday to celebrate Srila Prabhupada's appearance day here at our house.
Oh, awesome.
Yay.
Uh,
Yay.
at noon?
Yeah, noon.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. I'll text you about which salad you want me to bring, okay?
That sounds great. And Chara, you guys can make it, you think?
I think so.
Wonderful. Yay.
Speak for myself at least.
Okay, cool. And let me know if you want to bring something and what that would be.
All right.
Okay, thank you, darling.
Oh,
All right.
I'm really glad we're going to celebrate Srila Prabhupada's day.
Right. Plus, we haven't gotten together in a while, the whole
Yeah,
group.
that'll be a great occasion.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
forward to it, and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Haribol.
Radhe
Haribol.
Radhe.
Oh,
Rati
Radhe
Radhe
Rati.
Radhe.
Shyam.
Radhe Govinda Hari.
Haribol.